guys, I am back with another competition review, and I know it's been forever because I have not even talked about four continents, let alone US nationals, which feels like it happened a long time ago because so much has happened in between. But I do want to give it, a little review, just talk about the people who podiumed, give it a tiny little insight into my opinions, my feelings. I feel like the results, especially for US nationals, were very unexpected. So it is a competition that I'm interested in talking about. However, me watching that competition was interrupted with the Kamila Valieva verdict. And because of that, I do want to talk a little bit about the Kamila Valieva verdict. There are a few things that I said in my past video that I've changed my opinion on, and there are a few things that I still stand by. The main thing that I've changed my opinion on is basically the Canadians missing out on the bronze medal. When I first heard about the way the math was done and the fact that the Canadians were trying to appeal, I think I very much got emotional because of the athletes and wanted it to just end. I just wanted it to end and just everybody get the medal that the results have been decided for. I just wanted the process of the medals to be given to the athletes as quickly as possible. But the more I think about it, it is very unfair that the Canadians are missing out on this medal. It is not justice. It is also a detriment to their skating culture, to their skating field. Canada is a field that has become almost barren since 2018, where they had all these athletes across different disciplines, and now they don't seem to have any single Canadian star in any single discipline. And having that bronze medal not only would give them more cachet, but it would also give them more funding, which they desperately need because the depth is just not there anymore. And the Canadians truly deserve that medal because if you read the rules, now that I've understand and been told by you guys in the comments a little bit more about how the math breaks down, which my math is always horrible. Thank you for correcting me on that. Don't ever let me calculate how we split a bill. I do believe that the Canadians were robbed. And if they have to appeal for this decision, I do support that appeal process, even though it will delay any kind of giving of the medals. Although I don't know if it would affect the Japanese team and the US team receiving the medals because they are first and second, and that wouldn't change, even if the Russians were bumped down to fourth and the Canadians were bumped up to third. So that's the main thing I've changed my opinion on. I think that it is a good thing that the Canadians are trying to appeal, even though I think it's too late and they're not gonna I don't think that appeal is going to be approved or been able to be enacted through the Court of Arbitration for Sport, but who knows? Everything is up in the air. Anything is possible right now. And I do think that the Canadians deserve the bronze medal. One thing I do stand by is that I think that the punishment for Kamila Valieva was just. I know it is a very severe punishment. It's the highest punishment possible. It is 4-year suspension. Again, my math was really bad on that. I just thought 2024, so it's 3 years instead of 2, but we're in the beginning of 2024, so she's only really served 2 years of the ban since it's backdated to 2021. And I feel like the punishment is just because the moment they decided that Kamila Valieva was going to be tried as an adult, in the book it says this is what you get. And I get that it's the maximum sentence, but Russia has been so blatant in their cheating of the system that although it is giving sacrificial lamb and it sucks that the 15-year-old girl, at the time 15-year-old girl, and this young still kid is the one bearing the brunt of any kind of reprimanding that they can give to the Russian Federation. That sucks, but I do think that the punishment is fair in that it is by the book, unlike their math and their reordering of the medals. This punishment is by the book, and so it still does feel to me like a slap on the wrist on the Russian Federation and a very, very shitty move on Kamila Valieva. It is cruel to basically give her up as a sacrificial lamb for them to get back into the fold of the Olympic Committee and be allowed back into the Olympics and possibly be allowed back into international competitions if they're willing to play ball. And this is the part that confuses me. So far, they're not willing to play ball because they have been very open about the fact that they don't want that bronze medal, even though a lot of people don't think they even deserve the bronze medal. The Russians are like, no, we still deserve first. We are headstrong on this. We want our Olympic champions to stay Olympic champions because they are Olympic champions in our hearts. So we are also going to appeal. We see your appeal, Canada, and we raise you another appeal. And I'm just like, what? I thought that you guys made some sort of back-ended deal where you're going to get a bronze medal and Kamila Valieva is going to get the highest punishment, and the result is that you're allowed back into the Olympics. But no, you're appealing, or at least stating out loud that you're going to appeal this decision. I don't know how the Court of Arbitration for Sport works, but I feel like in order to appeal, you must have some sort of substantial evidence to back up that appeal. So like, unless they can muster up some evidence, I really don't know how they're just going to be like, nope, we don't agree. Like, you need something. You need some backbone. You need to put that up there and be like, we appeal because of this and that. And I don't think they got anything. I don't think they got this or that in order to serve the appeal. But the fact that they're still openly against this bronze medal medal is shocking to me. Like, this is a pity, like, medal that they're giving you because the IOC and the ISU is so scared of Russia that they're still willing to give them a medal even though they probably shouldn't. So it's insane to me that the Russians are still like, no, we will not play ball, even though we're desperately trying to get back into international competition. So I don't know what to make of that. And also, I genuinely thought that Russia was not even going to attempt. I didn't think that Russia was even going to try and give these punishments that were laid out by the Court of Arbitration Board to Kamila. I just thought that, like everything else, the rules don't apply in Russia. I genuinely thought, like everything else in Russia, they're just not going to do it. Like, the rules don't apply here, you can't make us, so we won't do it. And everybody's scared of Russia, so they were not even going to try and force them to apply these rules. But according to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, Kamila is not allowed to be in any state-funded competitions, ISU-related competitions, and those are not going on in Russia regardless, but all of their competitions are state-funded. So are they actually gonna remove her from them? She's not allowed to coach, which means she's not allowed to do seminars. She's not allowed to be even in state-funded gala performances, which is basically all of the gala performances in Russia because they have state grants. Are they actually, genuinely going to remove Kamila from that? Or are they gonna find loopholes? Are they gonna give her a separate private contract paid for by a private company? That is a loophole. Are they gonna include her in the Primer Canal channel competition that they do every December? Probably so. How can she be involved in that? Well, because it's from a TV competition. It's made up. It's got no sanctions. It might be a state channel, but it's not a state competition, if you see what I'm saying. It's like a show competition. So they're all loopholes that I think they're going to exploit to the highest degree to keep Kamila in the fold, because not only is that their star skater, their ice queen right now, she's also the symbol of Russian pride and strength. So that's why I was like, this is not really a punishment because none of it is going to apply to her. But now I'm seeing that maybe it will. And so that one has me a little bit kind of like, we'll see. I feel like Kamila Valieva is being punished, mostly mentally and emotionally, being used as sacrificial lamb. But I do think that maybe some concrete punishments from the Russian federations will occur, even though there will be loopholes, because I think Yana Rubskaya, which is Plushenko's wife, has already extended an invitation, and I think Navka has done the same, because Plushenko's rink is a private rink, so Kamila could skate there no problem. And then Navka, I think, also has some sort of private galas, so Kamila could skate there no problem as long as the contract is private and no state money is involved. So, like I said, it sucks that she's bearing the brunt of the Russian punishment that the international community is trying to give upon them, but then again, they don't commit the full way because they're still allowing Russians back into the fold. But then from the Russians' perspective, they're like, we've given up everything, we've given up our medals, we've given up our flag, what else do you want from us? But from the international perspective, we think that Russia is once again just being slapped on the wrist and not being held accountable for anything, because the reality is that nobody, and I mean no international body, is trying or even attempting to truly investigate how Medvedev got into her system. She just got the punishment because she couldn't come up with the logic steps of how it got into her body after using her grandfather as an excuse. And supposedly there is supposed to be a report that is going to be released about this trial, about the 2 years that they wasted trying to investigate this, and hopefully that will give us a little bit more information on why she got such a severe punishment. Maybe her excuses were so ridiculous that the board, the 3-member team from the arbitrators from the Court of Arbitration for Sport, were like, no, you deserve full 4 years because this is ridiculous. Or it was just tit for tat. We give you Kamila on a platter and you give us the Olympics back under a neutral flag. And maybe that's what's going to happen. I do still think there is a chance that she might be back for 2026. I've seen people do the math both ways, where yes, she could do it, or no, she couldn't. But I genuinely, not only am I not good at math, I genuinely think that anything is possible right now because nobody seems to be following any rules anyways. The Russians are not, the ISU is not following rules or math, apparently. So I can't wait to see how this is going to end up. But I just feel truly bad for Kamila Valieva, that she is just the face of everything, when in reality, the adults behind the scenes are the true instigators, allegedly, of chaos that has kind of befallen her career and her life right now. I am happy that this seems to have come to a close in terms of the investigation, but if Canada and Russia both appeal for the medals, maybe more information and more turmoil is still coming for Kamila. I don't know. Let me know if your opinions changed at all. There is a lot of information online, and I probably am missing a lot of new points by the time this video is being uploaded. But you know what? Let's focus on the things that we can say for sure won't change by this time, which are the results of the U.S. Nationals. So let's get into U.S. Nationals. This competition I actually actually really wanted to cover it because it was so interesting and it was actually very tense and exciting to watch for me. But because so much happened in between and I had a hard time locating a video of the actual competition, this video has been significantly delayed. However, I'm going to be very clear. I will only be talking about the ladies because in reality, the only interesting things that happened was in the women's discipline. In the men's competition, it was kind of predictable. Ilya won, of course, Ilya Malinin, and he shined and his stage presence continues to grow. It is what I say every time it happened here again. And that is honestly all I have to say about him. Oh, and Jason Brown continues to be amazing because he walked away with second place. I'm honestly still shocked that he's still in the competitive scheme, but I think he's just staying because US figure skating has nobody else, to be completely honest, besides Ilya. So I'm happy that Jason Brown is doing them a favor and still competing. And then in third place, we have the occasionally good performer, and that is Camden Pulkkinen. I had to get myself emotionally detached from him because I really liked him and I'm always cheering for him. But because he's so inconsistent and once in a blue moon gives us a good performance, I just couldn't be I couldn't be emotionally attached to him as much as I could. But in this competition, he ended up in third place, which I imagine means that he did very well or there was just not a lot of competition. But to be completely honest, I only watched Ilya and Jason Brown. But the ladies competition, let me tell you now, the ladies competition was the real show. It had a lot of names that we already know, and there was a surprise ending when the favorite to win it all did not walk away with a medal. But first of all, before we talk about the people on the podium, let's talk about some honorable mentions. The first honorable mention is Star Andrews, who honestly should be getting an award just for makeup and costume alone because I loved her short program, her Beyonce short program. Unfortunately, this was not her competition. Star ended up in 6th place, which I believe is lower than her 4th place last year, but just like last year, she is again off the podium. I am always rooting for Star Andrews because she has just so much charisma on the ice and off the ice. If she could just get a few medals under her belt, I know for a fact that the US media and the public would fall in love with her completely. But this time, she falls off the podium once more, and we can get my ideal Star Andrews stardom moment as she walks away in 6th place. Another honorable mention is Lindsay Thorngren in 2nd place, who is never beating the looks like she's about to cry allegations. She looked genuinely nervous at all times at this competition, at least for me. But whatever it was that was making her be a bit off, whether it be nerves or something else, definitely seeped into her performances because she ended up in 7th place. However, I will say it was reported by the commentators that she had just come off an injury, so hopefully next time we'll see her, she'll be fully recovered and she will have a different outcome in her next competition. Now let's talk about the podium because this competition to me was very exciting. It was very fulfilling. It was very emotional. I was emotionally invested in this competition and on the edge of my seat, which always is not the case in every single figure skating competition, but for this one, I was in it. In 3rd place, we have surprisingly the favorite to win it all, Isabeau Levito. She had a great short program, a new short program, I should say, which she decided to debut at US Nationals, which is a bold move to say the least, that she so far into the season decided to completely change her short program and then debuted it at the biggest US stage, that is Nationals. But you know what? It worked for her in the short because in the short, she truly looked like the stars were aligning in her favor and she was going to win back-to-back national titles because she came in as a defending champion. However, it wasn't until that last spin where she completely lost it and lost her balance, lost her footing, and it was the first crack in the armor, a foreshadowing of what was to come. And I honestly think that losing her form in that final element in such a brash way, because it was almost like a violent way in which she almost fell from a spin, you could see her feeling troubled and looking troubled after the short program just because of this one mistake. Even though the rest of the program was beautiful, but this one final note of like negativity, of mistakes, really affected her because you could see her just thinking and kind of festering in it at the kiss and cry and immediately thereafter ending her performance. And not to make things worse, but in the free, she started with what I call the confidence killer, a fall on the first jump. However, even after this fall, she still had a very good chance of winning the competition, and it looked like she recovered. That was until until we entered the second half, where she had the kiss of death, a second fall, which definitely shook her up because it brought upon a third fall, which is honestly truly the kiss of death. And by that third fall, that first place medal was far gone, and now she was just fighting to stay on the podium. All within a couple of minutes, her whole trajectory changed. And by the end of the program, it looked to me like Isabeau had just given up since the gold was so obviously gone. And this is why close competitions, because they ended the short program with Amber Glenn and Isabeau Levito being so close. When you have competitions that are just so close in skill, or competitors that are so close in skill, it's so exciting because one mistake can truly change everything. And sadly for Isabeau, she had more than one mistake. She had a couple big mistakes, making her fall from front runner to third place. But still not a bad place to be, as she still walks away with a medal. However, because she came with such high expectations and as defending champion, this is a disappointing outcome. But she still is on the podium. And I gotta say, I felt really sad seeing her trying to hold back her tears right after the program and in the kiss and try, and just seeing her go through all the emotions of grief over losing this medal. It was really sad to see, and it made me kind of want to root for her even more. And I just genuinely hope that she uses this loss, which is not really a loss, she's still in bronze, but she uses this emotional loss as positive motivation for training rather than beating herself up about it, because this child already has so much pressure as, in many people's eyes, the #1 lady in the US and our best chance at the Olympics. So I hope that this moment just gives her further motivation and she can turn it into a positive somehow rather than more pressure, which is what I think happened at this competition. Because the reality is that coming into a competition as a defending champion is a lot of pressure, and this time that pressure seemed to have gotten the best of her. Moving on. In second place, we have the cutest, which is Josephine Lee, which to me was such a surprise to see this name even pop up as one of the prospects for the podium, because we hadn't seen her at all since almost 2 years ago. We hadn't seen her at all in the last year, and she had such a shining moment the last time we talked about her. And seeing her this time, she is so obviously trained, and she had another shining moment, which made me reminisce about the last time we saw her, where she was just a little kid and was shocked over her success. And this time we got to see it again as a young lady, because Josephine had a great short program, shocking even herself by skating so clean. And my guess is that she obviously had grown in the last year, as she looks taller and older and has been struggling ever since adjusting to her new height. And all that training has finally paid off when it mattered most here at US Nationals, because Josephine literally cried immediately after finishing the program and was shocked at her scores. The crowd and obviously the judges are all rooting for her, including myself. Not that I'm a judge, but I am part of the crowd. And I really hope that she continues this trajectory. So entering the free competition, there was a lot of pressure on Josephine Lee to have a repeat performance. And lucky for us, she did. And let me just say, I liked her free program even more because Josephine was exuding so much confidence. Her jumps and her choreography all had a sharpness to them that can only come from training and confidence combined. And then just having a moment on the ice, which is exactly what she did. And I will admit, I was surprised by how well she owned the rink, like how well she owned the stage. She was connecting with the audience. She was playing with the camera. It took me aback because Josephine Lee looks like a shy person. I don't know her like that, but she does. And seeing her just come alive with all this fire on the ice was kind of crazy for me to see. And once again, after having such a good performance again in the free, following a successful performance in the short, she was rewarded with high scores that shocked even herself. Josephine Lee, who would have walked away with a medal regardless, bronze medal, now suddenly had the silver medal because of Isabeau's mistakes. And so she jumped from bronze to silver. A well-deserved silver medal, if you ask me. And hopefully this big win, this unexpected win, even to herself at nationals, only boosts her confidence even more, and we see more performances like this coming from her. Because honestly, after tonight, there's no excuse for her to not be on the podium at every single competition she's at. She has it in her. We know she can. It's just now about keeping it up, which is the hardest part of skating. And I only wish her success because I really want her in the mix. The more high-level ladies we have in the US, the better. Moving on, finally, we have our first place winner, Miss Amber Glenn. She got to win US Nationals 10 years after winning US Junior Nationals. And even the mere fact that this is her 9th senior national and she skated so well is a feat that within and of itself. A win that is truly remarkable, and she is making history just by existing, honestly. The second love of my life, Amber Glenn, is also the first woman to win a title at US Nationals, while she is proudly out as a queer woman, and she proudly posed with the rainbow flag. But before I go into my loving speech about how much I love Amber Glenn, let's talk about her programs. The short is obviously my favorite, and she freaking killed it. The jumps, the outfit, the confidence, the sass, the makeup, the execution, everything was hitting for Amber on the short, and the crowd agreed because she got a standing ovation, and her dad, who was in the crowd, was also giving her a standing ovation. It was just such a touching moment to watch. After the short, I think everyone started worrying about Isabeau's placing because you could just see the fire and determination in Amber's eyes, and it looked like she had a real chance at this medal if she just skated clean. Then in the free program, she kept that BDE energy coming because she started the program by landing a beautiful triple axel, which was the hardest element in the entire competition, which just gave her energy for the rest of the program. But then we entered the dangerous second half, where she had not just one but two pops, first popping a combination and later popping a flip jump. Two mistakes which she knows compromised any chance she had for first place if Isabeau were to skate clean. So she ended the program looking very disappointed and frustrated with herself. However, what she didn't know is that Isabeau was going to have probably one of the worst free programs in recent memory, and that would automatically make her take first place. And when finding this out, Amber burst into tears as Isabeau was already trying to hold back her tears. But Amber was crying of happiness because she became US national champion 10 years after being junior national champion, like a freaking Disney original movie or like a storybook. A feat that should be applauded, as it is so rare to see such longevity in women's skating, especially at such a high level. So Amber, you deserve this win, and you should enjoy it because we can all see how hard you're working, and your mere presence is historic in the sport. Another thing I want to talk about is how the commentators and the media were trying to create this Isabeau versus Amber Glenn rivalry, which I think is very good for the sport. And the narrative is compelling because it is an experienced skater who has continuously worked on her craft and is now finally reaping the benefits versus the bright new young upstart, the young ingenue that Isabeau likes to portray on the ice. And so I hope that both of them end up doing the Olympic cycle together and then end up getting into the Olympic team for the US, because this narrative could be a huge draw for Milan 2026 and have a huge culmination on the ice at the Olympics. It would be such a moment and a great storyline to follow, as well as creating interest within the USA. And also Isabeau has the added storyline of her mom being from Milan. Like, I can see it going so well if these two skaters make it onto the US Olympic team. It would be so fun, it would be so interesting, and the narrative is just like the story writes itself. And at this competition, it ended with both skaters, Amber and Isabeau, in tears. Maybe at the Olympics we will see a repeat of this, but who will be the one crying out of happiness? And that's how I end the video. Shout out as always to my Patreons, Timothy, Natalia, Leslie, Tori, and V. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye bye.